much for coming to Single Writers Only.
Thank you for having me here.
FAWN and I used to be co-workers. We met 4 years ago, right before the pandemic.
2019, so it's going on 5 years.
Nice. I remember walking into the writer's room. We met on a show called Intergalactic.
Yeah.
Walking to the writer's room and being, you just look so like professional, like at the desk, like typing away. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so intimidated by this girl. And you were so nice to me. And I was like, then about that same week I found out somehow that you were a Gemini. I was like, oh my God, she's gonna be nice to me. We're nice. We're gonna vibe.
And we did.
We did. I think I remember there being kind of like a shock in the room. Like, oh, they get along really well. Like,
Really?
I just remember them being like, oh wow, they're friends. Like they're now friends. But yeah, our friendship happened very quickly.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think that was the first time that I had been on the other side of interviewing. Like, I'm used to being the interviewee, but I played a small part in the your hiring.
Oh, cool. I don't think I knew that. I just don't remember. I'm sure we...
Yeah, I mean, because I had reached out to like all of the candidates. You
Okay.
were one of them, and
Okay.
then I was in the room with our showrunners, and it was remote because you were in Texas.
Yeah.
I think.
I know. You were on that Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay, it's coming back to me.
I set it up.
Oh, yeah.
Because
No,
they didn't know how. I did everything at that time.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, we had our first two interviewers, like interviewees, come in, and they were cool, but we knew they weren't it. And then like immediately we knew it was you.
Wow, that's so nice.
Because you were just like so cool and so like chill, but professional and like energetic. And we were like, oh yeah, she's it. And of course you were the most experienced too.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
so nice working with Fawn, Ian, and Maurice. Like I had the best time on that show. Lots of fun memories with the writers as well.
Yeah.
And it's nice we sometimes like keep in touch, which is really cute.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Intergalactic, you should go watch it. Because we got nominated for an Emmy.
I know.
So cool. Fawn doesn't know this, but Fawn is someone I look up to in terms of like relationships so hard because Fawn has like the highest standards. The highest standards when it comes to dating, and I'm like, I need to just absorb that and learn from you. But why do you think that is?
Oh man. Well, first of all, thank you. Because for a long time, like in my 20s, I did not. So I think, once you fail so many times and, if you put in the work and you really like learn the lesson finally or lessons, then it's like, okay, you should have some wisdom and some, patience and like restraint. Because I think that's really what it is when it comes to like relationships. I think, at least for me, I used to be just more like hard on the sleeve, whatever feels good. Like, I'm going to go with the flow. And now it's like, no, I need to be more strategic. I need to, I always say like lead with your heart, but also take your mind, like be smart about it. And just know that like a lot of people are there to waste your time. And so the biggest thing that you can do is like not waste somebody else's time, but more so your own time, And so I've just learned how to filter out people really well. And I think, like I said, it's patience. Like you might want this thing, you want this relationship, you want to be married, but it's like being with the right person is so much more important than being with the wrong person and rushing into things, And so just taking your time, and I always say like asking really good questions, you can really like sift people out so well.
That's interesting. What is like what do you for sure ask on the first date? Like your go-to, like I gotta ask this to get it out of the way to see if you're wasting my time.
Wow. I wouldn't say if it's the first date. I think it's so important now to have phone conversations before the first date.
Interesting.
because you learn so much before, like you need to screen them. You know, like I've been on a job where there's like a 15-minute call where they're screening you. They do that because they don't want to waste their time. And they know within that 15 minutes whether you're worth them meeting. That, you know,
That makes
you can
sense.
learn so much. Like think about how many first dates that you went on that you knew immediately, like, oh, this is not going to work. And had you had that FaceTime or that phone call, you would have been able to know that like right away. So I think that's number one.
Yeah.
Is the screener calls.
That is actually the best idea I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It should be like a part of the steps in the app. Okay, like you've matched, now schedule a freaking phone call.
Exactly.
That's a really good idea.
I've heard that, I think Bumble now, I haven't been on it in like a couple years, but I've heard that they do have like within the app that you can do a FaceTime.
I know.
Which is like the smartest thing to do because again, people put so much emphasis on the first date, and obviously there's certain things that you can't get over the phone, like somebody's energy, like how do they smell, like do they open doors, like, you know, like you don't know those things.
Do they smell? Okay, sure, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean scents are really huge for me. So yeah.
Yes.
But there's so much that you can learn. I don't know if there's like a specific question. Like I'm like going through several questions. You know,
God.
it's not just one. But again, like what are you looking for?
Yeah.
You know, like most people will actually be honest.
Oh yeah. I think everyone I've met so far, I have not gone on a lot of dates. I got into my previous relationship when I was really young, so now I'm actually like dating, and it's nice, but it's also like it feels like a complete waste of time sometimes.
Yeah. So what do you want? And then when they say that they want something, like then you're gonna see like after that, do their actions align with that? Because somebody might say they want marriage and these are the things that I believe are the steps of that, but if they're not showing you that, then it's time for a timeout or to be out. Thank you.
So we're gonna do some segment questions. The first one is, why are you still single? The good and the bad, like what you have to admit if there's like some like bad qualities that you have, and the good.
I am very picky, as I should be.
Yeah. But picky how?
Picky because I know exactly what I want. Like I know exactly what I want, and those things are hard to find. So for me, it's always been easy to find the guy who's great on paper, who, you know, had a great personality, who has a great career, makes good money, super smart, like again, great on paper. They're attractive, and so people automatically assume like this is a good catch. That's part of being a good catch, but the biggest part are the things that are going to be long lasting. That's somebody's character. You know, like, do they have integrity? Like, are they caring? Are they trustworthy? You know, are they honest? Like those things, those are the biggest things that I think that make a relationship and that will make it long lasting. All the other stuff comes and goes. You know, somebody could gain weight tomorrow. They could lose their job tomorrow. You know, people are cute in one decade and then they're not the other. So like focus on the things that actually matter, because when it comes down to it, when you need somebody to support you in your career, when you're sick, when, you know, things are down, when you're out of a job, like, is that person going to be there for you? Are they capable? You know, do they have empathy? Like these seemingly basic things, so many guys are just lacking. And I don't know if it's because once they achieve these like status symbols, you know, like once you've got the car and you got the career and you're attractive, like you're good. And you know, society like reinforces that. But they don't reinforce that, no, you have to be a good person. You have to be a caring person, you know? And so like, once I find that, you know, somebody that's caring and trustworthy and has empathy and you know, that is when I'm like, okay, I'll settle down with you. Until then, you're just like every other guy that just wants to take me out and sleep with me.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, I was doing a lot of more consulting and freelancing, and I just felt like that instability. And so for me, it felt more important to focus on that than to go out and look for a husband. You know, like I remember my grandmother, my grandmother tried to hook me up with a guy who installed her water system. Really nice water system. And this guy was really cute. But I remember like the first conversation we had, he was like, so how do you spend your day? And so I was just so frustrated. It's a basic question. It's a realistic question.
It's a fair question.
But it just was so it was difficult to explain to somebody that I am writing a book, but I also freelance, and it just reminded me like, no, this is just not a priority for me right now. And I had to tell him that. I had to tell him like, you know, I have a lot of things going on, and like if you give me a, you know, like a couple months, a few months, like circle back on this. And I don't know if he thought I was blowing him off or it really wasn't him. It just reminded me that that was just not a priority. And nothing ever happened after that. Again, he probably took it personally.
They tend to do that.
But it literally was like, I need to get my shit together, you know?
Well, that's good.
And so, and then a month later, I did end up getting hired full time, and had like this writing piece published. So it worked out.
Yeah.
So, but again, that's me. I don't think that you have to be like this full package in order to date, but I think there are certain elements that you need to have absolutely like in order. Like, you know, if you are really broke, you probably shouldn't be going on dates. You probably should go work some extra jobs.
That is good advice. And you know what? I'm going to take it because I'm really broke. So I'm not going to go on dates anymore. I'm not. I'm just going to like, I'm trying to like lay low after, here's what happened. I was at home for the winter break and I was on the apps. And so it was like, oh, when do you get back in town? When do you get back in town? I was like, let's just, you know, hang out when I get back. And then I got back. And then it got like back to back got scheduled for dates. And I was like, this is exhausting. I need to stop. And now I'm just like, I'm taking it off of my priority list for the rest of the year.
That's smart.
Doesn't feel like it's the right time right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you know inherently like what is a good time and what's not. You know, everybody has their own thing.
Yeah. Their own schedule.
Also, I thought it was interesting though that you said you went on all these dates. There's like these dating gurus that are like, date multiple people all at one time.
That's all I hear.
And I think that's such bad advice. And again, everything is not for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't knock it, but there are people like me who just like, I do not have the bandwidth, like emotionally, like mentally, like my time wise, like I just don't. And like you're giving so much of yourself, your energy. You know? And so for people like me that are just very protective of our energy, and it's not good, you know, it's draining, like you said.
It's so draining.
It just feels depleting and it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. And so it's like you're focusing on quantity versus quality, as opposed to what my favorite is, quality over quantity. And I get the reasoning behind it. People say, well, you shouldn't, you know, date one person exclusively at a time if you're not exclusive, because like you might catch feelings, or what if it doesn't work out? Then move on. Like, but for me to dedicate time to, you know, Tommy and Joe and Malik, like at the same time as my, you know, career and you know, in entertainment, you're already spread thin because you're working a full-time job, and then you're doing all your creative things, and then you got your side jobs. It's like, I don't have time. Like, maybe if I was like 24, sure. But at 36, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No. At 29, absolutely not. I'm not doing it anymore. It was so silly of me, but at the same time, I'm glad I did it because I was very quickly able to realize like, oh, these are the several different kinds of men out there. And half of them were bad and like the other half were okay. So it was nice to see kind of like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we both are writers. We both work in the industry, and I just wanted to chat about like the pros and the perks of our job and the cons and the perks of our job, because there's a lot of cons. I feel like the first one off the top of my head is that you have to have a lot of patience. Yeah.
A lot of patience for sure. I mean, it's a waiting game.
Exactly.
Like you gotta wait for the long haul.
Mhm.
Like I remember I went to like this alumni event, and it was Shonda Rhimes and it was John Wells, and they said, whatever time you think that it's gonna take you to make it, just know that it's gonna be way longer than that.
Double it.
I was like, no.
I know.
No, but it's so true. It's like you don't know, but the flip side is that you could be like grinding and seeing no results for like 8 years, and then like on that ninth year you're just like popping, like overnight. And I've seen people now go from being like an assistant and then they're a showrunner the next,
Oh my God,
season.
yeah.
And that never used to happen. You had to go through the whole hierarchy. And now, you can kind of just maneuver through the different levels. So that part is at least cool.
That's a great perk.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
But you just don't know what's gonna happen exactly. You never know. Oh yeah, let's just talk about how much fun we had on the show that we worked on.
Well, definitely had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I miss, honestly,
The coffee.
I miss the free food.
I miss the free food at Netflix.
That was so
I
awesome.
know.
Just like between the writer's room, like all the food and the breakfast, lunch, the snacks, and then working on Icon, which is Netflix's headquarters. And they have like the buffet and like
Fawn and I would get into work, like just put our stuff down, and then
Yeah.
we'd look at each other and be like, should we go get breakfast? And we'd go get breakfast. And there's espresso machines, and Fawn taught me how to use the espresso machine. And so we were making our oat milk lattes in the morning, right? And then we would have lunch, which was paid for with the writers. And then we would have the afternoon coffee, like paid for. Like it was just all free, and I loved it.
And then,
I loved it.
And then out of nowhere, the pandemic
COVID.
hit, and it was like all that shit was gone immediately.
We were sent home.
But no, that was cool. I mean, I felt like there was just so many different things. Like obviously you're learning about story, but the musical component, like going to the studio.
Oh my God, we
and,
went to the studio with Kid Cudi and got to like
Yeah.
listen to the album beforehand.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
That was amazing to listen to that, 3 years before it came out.
Really?
And so, yeah, it was 3 years.
Damn.
So stuff like that was always amazing. And
Just
then
fun. Yeah.
And then at the same time, it was crazy that Black AF was filming at the same time on the lot. You don't remember?
I remember that.
Yeah. They were. And so
Oh yeah.
we would take, at least during lunch sometimes, I would just walk around and walk to that set and just be like, hey.
Yeah. I can kind of remember the wardrobe. I've seen like the wardrobe people.
Yeah. Remember, because they had the set with like the airplane and like.
No.
Oh, you
I
didn't-
remember a fake house. The fake house. They
Yeah,
shot it
the
in.
house was nice.
That was so nice.
And it had like water and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's coming back to me.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, but it's coming back to me. Wait, what was I going to say about that? Oh, yeah. One of the perks of that show and that experience that I still have not been able to live again, so I think, and I know that it's like a unique experience, was A, how small it was because it was an animation writer's room, and B, how actually diverse it was.
Yeah.
Insane.
Very.
It was like a room full of Black writers. And
Yeah.
I think we had one Sydney, right?
Well, we had Sydney and Ian.
Sydney and Ian.
Yeah.
Yes. But that was like so cool because you don't see that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, for the most part, you do not. I will say Kenya's writers' rooms tend to be very diverse. That's what I really like about his. I had a chance to shadow on Blackish for a week.
Nice.
And it was just as diverse, and yeah, I liked it. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it, and it felt like a little family every day, like going into work, and it was really fun.
It did. It's so funny because somebody recently posted like, the people you work with are not your family. And but you know, Intergalactic, it was like the first time like it really did feel like this genuine family dynamic where you actually liked people, even if like there were times and days where everybody got on each other's nerves. It just happens when you're spending so much time with people. But at the same time, it felt like we just had so much fun, so much like camaraderie. I don't know. It's rare.
Yeah.
It definitely was very rare. Not all writers' rooms are like that. Not all jobs are like that. So
yeah, that's why
yeah.
it felt special. And I think we have to kind of like give credit to the showrunners, like
Of
Ian and
course.
Maurice, because they kind of intentionally tried to cultivate that. I think
yeah,
it helped that the writers had chemistry themselves,
Yeah.
but it was like nice to see them be intentional about like, hey, like let's get to know each other and
of course.
like have a lot of fun and tell a lot of jokes and
Yeah.
sometimes not actually like get any work done.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was cool.
it was.
Yeah. So now we're gonna move into Shit Talking Saves Lives, where we talk a bunch of shit. Fawn is constantly talking shit about PR relationships. When I was being passionate about Bad Bunny and Kendall and how much I hated it, she was like, it's a PR relationship, it's
Yeah.
not gonna last, don't worry about it. And then you sent me like Travis and Taylor like theories, and I'm like, Fawn, let them be in love. Just let them be in love. But you believe they're all PR.
I want to say all those two specifically, I spy with my little eye that it just screams it screams PR relationship. And so, you know, people want to believe what they want to believe, but the reality of our business is that it is very lucrative,
True.
and status catapulting when you date somebody who's on your same level. And so you'll see those relationships. To me, it's a dead giveaway, because why am I seeing an article on Travis and Taylor every single day? I don't need to see a status update of what they ate and what the mom said and what gift they didn't give or what time they flew in and how, like, it's just too intense. And again, that's a PR relationship, because if you're truly in love, you're not running to the tabloids.
Running
you
around.
You don't have anybody else running to the publicist to then run to outlets. You know, like, you're just living your relationship and then you post when you want to post. But when you're giving literal updates, somebody in your camp, it's like, oh God, like, go do you, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I just don't need to see the status update every single day. Now, I will say it was very clear that he loved his ex very much. Like, I don't, know all the nitty gritty, but it's very, very obvious that that was like a real relationship where he loved her. And this, not only do I think it's fake, but obviously the New York Times came out with this article saying how his managers came up with a plan to make him A-list. And how do you get A-list? You date an A-list singer, like the biggest one. And so, again.
But think about how good that song is going to be when Taylor is like, you know what? You just used me. Because you know that Taylor's like falling for him. As much as she likes the power and the fame, I'm sure that there's a lot of like feeling there. Because they're both attractive, good-looking people and they have chemistry, like it's real. It's real. They're not going home and just like texting on their phones.
I mean, I think in a lot of these PR relationships, there's an I hate to say it like that, because I just see my timelines, my family members, they talk about these relationships as if they're so real. And I'm like, guys, it's not.
But it's so funny how we love to talk about it. And it takes me back to like the 90s when you had like J-Lo and Ben and Brad Pitt and what was her face? Angelina Jolie. Like, people really like to consume celebrity couples and like, the content. So I don't know. It entertains us.
Clearly.
But it's not probably gonna last, sadly. Haters. Do you have any? Are you a hater?
I'm not a hater. I'm actually like, I love to see people win.
Yes,
Like, I would
I could
genuinely
say
do.
that is so true about
And I
Fawn. Yeah.
try to help people to win, like every chance that I get. Because you can't take anything that's from me, and I can't take anything
Because
that's
it's not,
for you.
yeah, it's not meant for everybody. It's either meant for you
No.
or for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've just always been like happy for other people's success.
Yeah.
It has not always been reciprocated. And,
No,
I've
I'm sure.
definitely seen the demise of friendships because of that. Because it's like, I only speak good things about you. If I have to talk shit about you, then we shouldn't be friends. And the fact that that is not reciprocated, then yeah, definitely do have haters.
I know.
But hating on people in my inner circle, it's just not a thing. Like, I might hate on Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
That's different. That's different.
But like people that I know, even people that I work with, and I think I saw that where I work now. Like, I congratulated other people because I was genuinely happy to see their succession, and it was definitely crickets when I got promoted. Like, crickets.
Yeah.
It was like one person, and then like 2 months later, it was like a second person, and then I eventually heard I heard all the chatter, the rumors, and things like it wasn't even rumors. It was just like people couldn't believe that it happened. And so everybody was just like, how do you feel about that? Or, I heard through the grapevine that somebody else was laughing about how they thought, how I got promoted over some other guys who do not have my pedigree. So, of course, but that same person couldn't even congratulate me when I congratulated them, And so I just have never understood how, it's not, I get why people may not necessarily be happy or overjoyed.
Yeah.
But to be like a straight up hater is like, why? I don't understand it. So it exists, but like there's this pastor that I follow, and she's like, you gotta love your haters because they're free PR. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
I just don't want PR. I don't want anyone talking about me. You know what I mean?
I don't either.
It's
but
just this annoying feeling that I get easily annoyed when I just know that, like, actually, I don't think I actually have a lot of haters, which is nice.
That's good.
I think that people are very indifferent to what happens to me. But I will say that when it comes to people I actually like share my good news with, I'm very protective about that because that's what they say, right? Like that's what it's like keep the things that you really want in your life like private until it's actually like done.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about entertainment is that everybody has a different story, and so your story is not going to be my story and that person's story, like, which is why I think people should celebrate other people. And so it should be just a testament of like, wow, look what happened to this person. So even if it doesn't happen that way for me, it happened, and so miracles are happening every day. But no, I mean, I thought it was amazing that of course you're talented, and so it was no surprise to me. But I just remember our initial conversations, and I'm like, no, it's going to happen either through your manager or through a program, and I'm glad that it did.
Yeah, I just remember like always venting to Fawn about how frustrated I was with being an assistant and like feeling like you're stuck. And I think when you give me advice, it's always like, patience, like it's gonna happen, like chill out, Helen, like it's fine, you're fine. So I appreciate it. And that's on haters. That's all we got. That's all we got. I hope I don't have them. Don't waste your time. Like it's not even worth it. Yeah. Who has the energy? Who has the energy?
The thing is that I'm reminded every day, you'll watch like a cute video on social media and people will literally hate on that person for no reason. Like there's this lady, I can't think of her name, but she has like 2 million followers and she's so like neat and she has all of these nifty things around her house.
And people talk shit. Yeah.
And so literally she did a whole video about how people were just like hating on her, like, you must be single, you don't have kids. And like, she's like, actually, I'm married with 3 kids. But it's like, even if she was single, like, why are you hating on her? She has like a really great lifestyle. Like, who hates on that?
It's funny, and it's hard for me to actually understand because I don't understand the way people's brains work to be like that. It's like, you're so petty and unhappy, and I thankfully don't have people in my life who are like that. So maybe that's why I'm like, why, who, how? It's like, oh yeah, I don't really know any people who are actually online haters or like talking shit about me behind my back.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because they're out there. They're out
there. Yeah. I mean, I say that now and watch, like, I actually have people talking shit about my back, but you know, it's fine. Oh, you know what? Yeah. I feel like when you put yourself out there, you know this. When you put yourself out there and you do something like what we're doing right now and you share it, and it's like, we share it because it makes us happy. We actually don't care what you think about what we're doing. But of course, people are like, oh my God, look at them. It's so embarrassing. And it's like, okay, then don't watch it. Don't watch it. Don't consume it. Just mute me, you know? I get really passionate about that. I'm like, just focus on yourself. Okay, cool. So I want to talk about Fawn's book because she wrote a book, what, like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago?
4 years ago. It's been 4 years.
Wow. And I still haven't read it.
Yeah.
You're like, you won't.
It's so weird because the hardest thing to do when you're a writer is to get other people to read your work. And it's funny because I'm on the flip side of like where people want
everyone
me to read.
Wants to read your stuff and you're like,
well, right? No, they want me to read their stuff. And I'm like, well, I actually get paid to do that. So I don't find joy in doing that unless you're like really, really close. Like, you know, we came up in the trenches together, like you and I. I'm like, no, I will refer you to somebody else. But no, like when you write a memoir, it's such a long process because even if you write the book right away, there's so many different steps that you have to take to get it out in the world and at least to get an agent too. So it didn't take me that long. I think it took maybe 6 months to a year to like write multiple drafts. Initially hired an editor just to cut it down because I wrote basically 2 books worth that needed to be truncated.
Where did you hire the editor?
So there is this amazing group that I love. It's called The Binders. It's like this private Facebook group, but it's all women, and like all walks of life. Like you have people who have published stuff that their show is on Netflix, and you have people like me that are just like starting out, like, hey guys. And so everybody is just, you've never met any of these people, but they're so open to giving advice and helping. And like, there's just whatever you need, it's on there. So I was very lucky to meet a woman. Her name is Sue, and I took her publishing class, and then she referred me to this editor. It wasn't somebody who like really cleaned up like a develop, when you actually get an agent, they're then gonna sell it to a publisher, and you're gonna have an editor, and they're gonna really go through that thing. This was literally like truncated, like find the parts, the weakest parts, get them out, all the extra words, get them out.
Nice.
So had her work on that, and then you have to do a book proposal, and the book proposal actually took me longer than it did to write the freaking book. It took me over a year, and so part of the reason why it took longer too is because when I did the proposal, I was working full time, and it just was like a lot to work full time. And then you also do the book proposal, and you also have to like write all these stories and get them published, and also you gotta have a social media following. And I'm like, oh my gosh! And so it's like this whole this labyrinth of things that you have to do, as opposed to if you were just a novelist, you write the book, you send it down, send it, and here's the thing: everybody wants a novel. Nobody wants a memoir unless you're like a celebrity. So
what made you write a memoir?
Just because my stories, I have so many dating stories, so many. Like I said, I had to truncate all of these stories down to, I had to cut out so many. And so I felt like they're worthy, like I know that people, women specifically, can relate to the bullshit that we go through, whether it's dating, whether it's relationships, the aftermath, like finding yourself. Like I had this idea. I had initially did it as like a web series, then a short film. But to me, it made more sense to do it as a book because there's so much more power in doing a book. IP in our industry obviously is everything. And then I have pretty much free reign to do whatever I want to do, unfiltered, until you get an agent and they figure that out. But even if I were to self-publish, I can do whatever I want to do. It's my story and I have IP, I own it.
Yeah.
So that is really where I came to that conclusion.
Oh yes, I wanted to ask you, are there writers who you look up to, like to their career, and you like, okay, I could see myself, maybe they're actors as well, that you could see yourself kind of emulating?
Emulating.
I mean, I think you're a fan of Shonda, right? But Shonda
No.
doesn't act.
No, she writes and produces. I love
That's right.
Shonda. Yeah, I mean, she's amazing. So yeah, I would love to put out like the type of shows that she puts out, of course. Shonda rhymes. I love Mara Kill. Tracy Oliver is another one. She's so hilarious. So many people don't know her, but they know her work,
which is like
First Wives Club. She co-wrote Girls Trip, which is like obviously so funny. What else does she do? Oh, I think it's Harlem.
Yeah.
So
Harlem is huge.
Yeah. So she's done a lot of stuff. And she writes comedy too. And it's like female focus. And so that's definitely my lane. So I love that she does that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Those are amazing people. That's so cool. I wanted to talk to Fawn about like the lessons that she's learned in 2023. Less dating lessons, more like self. Like, how did you grow within yourself? Like, what did you learn about yourself basically in 2023?
I would say the first thing is letting go.
Yeah.
Whether it's people, whether it's notions, whether it's fear, like really just letting go. And I think you just have to do that in order to like get through the day, but get through life. It's so important to decide who is worthy of your time, and who just isn't. And like I said, that's all levels. That's friendships. That's definitely relationships. It's career, because you only have so much. Like your energy is finite. So yeah, just letting go of fear and just everything. Because I think that's something that I see in a lot of people, even people that are very successful, is that they're still bound by fear.
Oh, it's the hardest thing to let go of.
Yeah. And so fear of like, what other people think, like let go of that. Like, like I had to get back out into the social media world and I had to do it like editing my own videos. And you know what? It's so funny because I knew the first video was like wonky, but I was still proud of myself because this was my first time editing myself. And of course, the very first comment somebody made was like, "Who did this editing? It's horrible." I was like, no. But I
horrible? He said it was horrible?
It wasn't necessarily horrible, but he said it was along those lines. The next video, he was like, "Oh, much better, much better." But it didn't matter because I was so proud of myself because I had always hired people to edit for me. That's a big, like I literally already, I have to write, I have to produce, I have to direct, I have to put on my makeup, I got to do that. I have to do, talk about multifaceted. Editing has always not been my thing.
Girl, I hate it.
So, but I felt proud of myself for literally just like going and figuring out, like doing the tutorials. So yeah.
Self-taught. We are self-taught ladies.
Self-taught, self-made.
So yeah, we were talking about the lessons that Fawn has learned. She's learned some great lessons in 2023. Those are very, very intense lessons.
Yeah, very, very intense. And I would also say I have embraced that I'm not for everybody. I'm okay with that. I am the odd woman out, and I am okay with being on my own island. I do not have to be liked, but I do love to be respected. I I love respect more than I like to be liked, if that makes sense.
That's good.
But yeah, just knowing that I'm not for everybody, you know, because people are people pleasers. I think I probably was a people pleaser back in the day. And it's like, no, I'm very much comfortable in like who I am, and I'm okay with being on my own island if, you know, other people don't want to be on that island.
No, that's huge. I don't know how you did that. I hope that I can, because I will admit I'm very much a people pleaser right now. I want everyone to like me. And I work on it every single day. It is consuming. It's all consuming, and it's like draining my energy. And so I try to like not care, but I care a lot. It's also like a part of like being a writer in the TV film world. I think it's like not really about if you can do the job. It's more about like who likes who, who's friends with who. So it's very hard to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna do me and like sit in the corner and be quiet. It's like, no, that's not gonna get me anywhere.
It's not. And you know, it's so crazy because I have a friend and she's like, you know how you just, there's these people that you just don't like and you don't even know. And I'm like, no, because I'm the type of person, I don't like somebody because they genuinely offended me or they did something egregious. But I'm not going to just like walk in a room and be like, I don't like you, you know? But there are people like that. You will literally walk in a room and people will literally want to dim your light.
Just give me anxiety, Fawn. The writer's room opens on Tuesday and I'm like, I hope no one sees me and dislikes me.
Oh my gosh. You're a very likable, lovable person.
That's very, very funny to hear.
But there are people who just will not, you know, like they don't like people with, you know, curly hair, or maybe you remind them of their, like you just don't know why. And so it's so silly, but that's why you have to really depersonalize so much
things personal too,
you know, and just know that everybody is just not going to like you, you know, like I've had those experiences where you just walk up to someone and they just are like, no.
So,
no,
I get that. And that's actually really hard to confront as a people pleaser, because it's like, okay, no, I'm going to take that as a challenge. You're going to like me. You're going to like me. And I'm going to change my personality so that you like me. But no, I eventually cave and I eventually give up. And once I turn that off of wanting them to like me, I notice that they do end up liking me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I don't have the time for that. But what was I going to say about that? Oh yeah. Saying the advice that you always hear of like, don't take things personally, I think is helpful. But what I find more helpful is thinking like, it's not about you, it's about them. So whatever they're doing to you, it's not about you.
100%.
You just have to detach from that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I'm very good at getting to the bottom of people's behavior, you know. That's like the nerd in me. Is like, as I've studied, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but I just study this stuff for fun. And once you learn about all of just different personalities and traits and traumas and things like that, you see, oh yeah, this person is acting from their trauma, you know. And so it's easier to depersonalize like how they're treating you, because you know that they can't possibly either treat themselves well or treat other people, you know.
So thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
I learned so much. This is always so nice to sit with you and chat.
I didn't get to go to the show. But
you should, well, it's hard to say you should come because I know you live really far away. I know.
But I do want to go at some point. I definitely will make it.
Okay, good. It's a fun time. It's like, if you like sketch comedy, it's always a good vibe. I don't know how, from the first show, the vibe was immaculate. I was like, yes, this is the perfect vibe. Like, everyone is not self-conscious, like the lights are dim, like everyone's like ready to just have a good time, and I love that about it. Nice. So come and hang out
I will.
one of these days. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.